how are you? Hi course creators, welcome to another edition of Let's Get Your Course Done and Out to Market. Today I'm talking about what I learned, 5 things I learned working for Tony Robbins. 5 things about course creation and marketing. Trust me, I could talk about hundreds of things. Hi Alex, that I learned while working for Tony, and I'm just going to talk about 5 today. And listen, I gained so much working for Tony. I worked for Tony for about 5 years. And my mentors, most of my mentors came from Tony: Pam Hendrickson, Amy Porterfield, Marc Figueroa. I met my husband, Alex, who's on right now, at Tony Robbins. So much amazingness has come from me working for Tony. And I get a lot of questions like, what was it like working for Tony? How was it doing course creation and marketing? So I'm going to talk about 5 things I've learned that I want you to apply with your course creation today. Okay, let's get started. Number 1, try out your content with your best customers. So when I was with Tony, he had something called Platinum Partnership, and I'm pretty sure he still has it today. And it's a small elite group of customers that have gone through his funnel and that meet quarterly, and they get all the new content. So if Tony wanted to try out relationship content, or he did something called Psychology of Personalities when I was there, which is an amazing piece of content, or his business content, he would present it to the Platinum partners first and then release it out to a wider audience. So for you, how can you text out your new content? Can you take a module you've been working on or something that you've been thinking about pre-selling and put it in front of, say, 10 of your best customers and get their opinion on it and beta it? There's an idea for you. So number 2, second thing I learned from working with Tony is the power of the debrief and the structure of the debrief. So after everything we did, whether it was doing live events, and with Tony, I did live events. I built out courses like Ultimate Edge, the new Money Masters, his mini products that he did. So I went into the studio with him, toured with him on live events, got to do all kinds of fun stuff, and got to do infomercial shoots. So every time we did something where he presented new content, infomercial, live event, recording in the studio, we debrief with this structure. 1, what's great, and talking about the emotion behind it too. Like after an event, especially, emotions are riding high. So we'd be in the car and Tony would talk about what he loved about the event. Then 2, what are some stories or examples that were told that we want to archive for the future or reuse for the future? So that's number 2. Then number 3, you get into the tech nitty gritty. So maybe the keynote wasn't working as well, or the music didn't go off as well as he wanted, or something didn't go as planned. And what system are we going to put in place for the future to make sure this doesn't happen again, hopes it doesn't happen again, right? So for you, I want you debriefing after every time you present content, whether it's a Facebook Live right now. After this Facebook Live, I'm going to talk to Monica, my girl Monica, and we're going to say, okay, what was great and what can we do for the future? A webinar, I want you debriefing after the webinar and figuring out what was great and what can be improved for the future, and any new content that you introduce that you want to add to your content grid that I hope you're building out, right? That you can use week in and week out. Then number 3, know your audience. So for Tony, he does amazing prep, and Amy Porterfield, by the way, does incredible prep as well. And before private events, we would do interviews and know what's the challenges, what's the pain points. Like if he's going into a specific city, right? What are the trends? What's just happened? Like if he was going into Philly, we'd be talking about the Eagles, right? And he'd getting the crowd pumped about the Eagles. And it's about building rapport and knowing the keywords, knowing the trends that really matter to them. And so you can build that rapport instantly. A good example of this is right now I'm doing some calls for a client that are creating a course when you are about to retire. And listening to these folks talk about their hopes and dreams about retirement, there's so much richness there that we're going to use in the marketing, we're going to use in the course creation. It's amazing. So for you, I want you to do, Amy calls these validation calls, and I 100% agree that before you build a course, you want to connect with your core person, really figure out what's their pain points, hopes and dreams, I'm going too fast, and knowing what are the key words that are going to be meaningful to them when you connect with them. So that's number 3, know your audience. Okay, number 4, make it actionable. And you know this, right? You know this, that we want to teach our course and teach our content and then give them an assignment and give them homework. Whenever Tony would teach, there's a certain flow, especially for events, where he'd give a hook, give the why behind it, give in a story and example, the steps, review the steps, and then an actionable piece. I'll list out these steps up above, by the way, so because I went through it rather fast. But think about that flow for your course creation, and I want to make sure that you're making it actionable, that even if it's not at the end of each lesson, but at the end of each module, you have a piece of homework that they can take home and they can do themselves and implement it into their own lives. Okay, number 5, it's a process. So for Tony, it was a huge process every time he would introduce a new piece of content, and it should be the same for you. So for example, I remember we would work on Unleash the Power Within, which is his foundational event, and he wanted to work on this map about the areas of your life and his new 3 pillars content. And we worked on it for, I think it was like 4 or 5 events. And each event he would refine, he would tweak. We talk about the timing, we talk about the content. What do we want the crowd to say? Like, what are we eliciting from the people? And finally, I think it was the 5th event, he really nailed it. And then we made it a permanent part of the program back in the days when I was working the program. I'm not sure if it's there right now, but my point is 4, 5, 6 times, it's an iterative process, right? And it's same for your course creation. What is the process that you're following? And my challenge for you today is to think about your process. And I actually have something that I think could help you. I've got this course mapping blueprint that I created about how to really structure your course before you start creating your content. And this is something that'll help you map out what's your course really about, what's the promise, what's the transformation that you want to bring. And I think it's huge as far as being part of your course creation process. So I'll put the link above to that in the comments, or in the comments as well as the copy. So I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. Remember, try out your content with your best people. Debrief, remember that structure. What's great, content you want to know for the future, tech pieces that you want to improve on. 3, know your audience. 4, make it actionable. And then 5, remember, it's a process. It's an iterative process that you're going to be working through time and time again, refining it each time till you nail it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. Check out my blueprint by clicking the link above, and I'll see you next week. Bye.